Hi friends, welcome to the Art Room with Mrs. Nolte. Today we will be looking at James Rizzi. James Rizzi was an American pop artist who was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He was known for his use of childlike imagery and vibrant colors. His trademark technique was to make a silkscreen print, hand color it, and then attach cutouts with adhesive foam. The result was a 3D multiple that combined graphic art, painting, and sculpture. James Rizzi lived in and created art in New York City his whole life, where he participated in outdoor art shows and did small-scale graphic work. In 1996, he received his most high-profile commission as the official artist for the Olympic Games in Atlanta, Georgia. He created a series of paintings of the opening ceremony. His most well-known work remained his 3D prints, particularly his anthropomorphic cityscapes. Anthropomorphic means giving something human characteristics like facial features. Today, we will create a city inspired by James Rizzi. Our project today is a James Rizzi inspired cityscape. For today's materials, you'll need a piece of drawing paper, a permanent marker, colored markers, and a ruler. I'm going to ask that you do your drawing with a permanent marker and not a Crayola marker, because we want the black lines to remain crisp and black. A Crayola marker may run and your image will get very muddy. So let's get started. To begin our drawing, we are going to start with the foreground buildings of the city. We're going to start with a horizontal line that's about 2 fingers wide, a vertical line, another 2-finger width horizontal line, a vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, and these should be at different lengths and heights, so it varies the line. It almost looks like steps coming across the paper, going up and down and across. Now I'd like you to use your ruler, and we're going to extend these buildings down so they look like rectangle shapes. So I'm going to go to that point and draw a straight line down, go to the next intersection, the point, draw this down, and we're going to go all the way across the paper, creating rectangle shapes. You can do this freehand if you don't have a ruler, but I like to have my lines a little bit straighter, because sometimes drawing these long lines is a little tough. Next, we're going to draw the background buildings. And I'm going to do the same process, but I'm going to vary the width and the height of some of these so that they don't line up with the ones below. I want them to be a little bit different. So horizontal and vertical lines going across. Then you're going to take your ruler, and where the vertical and the horizontal line meet in that corner, you're going to use a ruler to draw a straight line down. This is going to give you that rectangle shape. And so we have some buildings in the background now. Now we're going to add some shapes to the top of our buildings. I'm going to begin with my background buildings. They're the buildings that are supposed to be behind. On our paper, they look like they're a little higher on the page. These are the background buildings. I'm going to use some geometric shapes, some triangles, some rectangles, squares, curved lines, circles. Whatever you want for a geometric shape, you can add a little design on each of your buildings. When you're done adding some shapes to your background buildings, you can then add some shapes to your foreground buildings, or the ones that are in front. In our picture, the foreground buildings are lower on the page. Now for the really fun part. We're going to start to add some human characteristics to our building. The term is called anthropomorphic. That's a tough one to say, but it means giving an inanimate object the look of something that's human. And we see this a lot of times in Disney movies. Cars is a great Disney movie that gave a human characteristic to an inanimate object. So for ours, we're going to start with the eyes, and I'm going to go on each building and create some really fun eyes. So I'd like you to turn each one of your buildings into something that has a human characteristic, and we'll start with the eyes first. Now that you have your eyes done on all your buildings, I'm going to add some different mouth designs to my buildings. Some will be smiling, some will look surprised, but I think I'm going to make most of them happy. I think some of them might even be singing. So the last part of our drawing exercise for our James Rizzi inspired art is to create the building fronts, the windows and doors. So I'm going to take my time and draw in some different types of windows. Again, these are mostly geometric shapes of squares and rectangles, maybe some curved lines, some circles, and I'm going to add windows and doors on each of my buildings. The buildings that are in the background, you don't generally need to put a lot of windows, maybe just one or two, just to indicate where they might be. I also added some design and pattern on some of the rooftops and the little geometric shapes we added on the tops of our buildings. Alright, so I'm at the end of my building design, and I have all of my buildings pretty much finished up now. They have human characteristics. I added some faces to each of my buildings. I added a design on the rooftops. I have a foreground and a background of different buildings with the different sizes and shapes, and I've added doors and windows. So now that my illustration piece of it is done, part 2 is going to be how we're going to color in our final piece. So join me in the next video.